So today I turned 27 and my 26th year was just completely insane. Starting off with running the marathon of New York on my birthday.
Happy birthday! Hey, gefeliciteerd man! Oh, die bruggen zijn geen grap. Moet je banaan? Huh? Kijk! Yo!
A memorable event that I will never forget. But there was something even more special about this year and about this marathon. Because near the end of 2022, we got the news that my dad had cancer. They didn't know yet if the cancer was metastasized or not, but we knew it would be like a really uncertain time for us as a family. And besides that, the cough had almost completely destroyed my parents' business. They have been having a restaurant for almost 26 years now, or 27 years, because I was a little baby when they opened their shop in Amsterdam. So it really hurted me also to see it crumbling down, because there weren't that much people on the streets. People would only buy with the supermarket and not go to the restaurant anymore. So if there were two people on the whole planet that could really use some time off, it would be my parents. They were working really hard, and while they were renovating their house, everything came at a pause because the cough happened, and then my dad got cancer, so he couldn't also work at the house anymore. So it was just a really shitty time for us. So since I started my entrepreneurial journey, I knew I wanted to do something for my parents, to give them something back. So at first I thought, let's give them just a chunk of money for the roof or for the renovation of the home. But I quickly realized, like, I can give them money, but then they will put it in bricks, and well, voila, my son helped me with that. And I thought, like, I wanted to do something memorable. So something where we, even in the coming 20, 30, 40 years maybe, where we can still talk about it with emotions and just feel happy because we did something together. And something I always loved as a kid was traveling with my parents to Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Arizona, Suriname, Italy, France, Germany, all those places and so many places more. I always loved that as a kid, but at the moment puberty hits, then it's not cool to hang out with your parents anymore, so you go on your trips with your friends, etc. And now I would die for a vacation in Italy, where we are in a villa at the top of a mountain with a swimming pool and just only that and almost no Wi-Fi. Oh, I would love for that. But well, the tables have turned. So I thought by myself, why not take my parents on a trip? Just like we did when we were little children. At the moment I was doing the 6-star challenge by the Abbott World Marathon Majors. So I had Boston, Tokyo, Chicago and New York lined up. So I thought, like, why not take them to one of these marathons, what is a huge thing for me to do for my late nephew, but also something that's really nice to take them with me. So I thought by myself, which place would be the most memorable? And immediately I knew New York. I was running the marathon on my birthday, so it was meant to be. And we have watched so many movies together where they are walking or talking in New York or about New York. So we have seen it always on movies and pictures, etc. So as a big cinema family, because we are always watching movies together or going to the cinema together, I thought, like, this would be the most perfect place to celebrate my birthday and to give my parents something back, because they also hadn't been to New York yet. So why not turn my birthday gift in something for them? And so the planning began, because my mom was breeding with Rhodesian Ridgeback, so we knew that maybe there was a chance that Nala, one of her dogs, would be giving birth to a little puppy. So I knew there would be some things to arrange before we can even go to New York. And while my mom was busy running the restaurant in Amsterdam, my dad has started his own little business where he was renovating villas to make up for the losses that the restaurant couldn't get. So I knew there were a lot of moving parts and things that I would need to be planning far ahead, so they can take the time off of the business, they can take time off the puppies and even all the animals at our place, because we are living at a small farm. So they had chickens, ducks, pigs, we have a horse, we have, I think, almost 5 cats, and they have like 3 dogs, and one is probably going to give birth. So a lot of things that I need to take in consideration before even taking them on this trip. And the idea that I first had was like, okay, because they are always packing their bags really late, so you know probably now from who I've picked that trade up. But I thought, like, let's surprise them and just saying like, okay, you have 30 minutes to pack your bags because we're going to New York and the taxi will be here in 30 minutes. I could completely visualize that, how much fun it would be, but when I was planning with my family members to have someone watch the house and doing the animals and with the staff of the restaurant, I immediately knew that if I wanted to be this trip like very nice and memorable, I need to tell them up front so we can arrange everything together, because otherwise it would be completely hectic and they will be stressed in New York, and that's something I didn't want. And you know, I'm quite impulsive. I know that for myself, so I had already booked their tickets way before I even asked them, way before I discussed it with my brother. I thought like, we're going to New York on this and this date. I'm taking you guys with me a whole week and you will fix it in the meantime. But then I thought like, let's just tell them up front. And my brother, he actually didn't know it either, but he was also going to be getting a real big surprise. When my dad was done with his surgery, we had planned a nice family dinner. We have like one favorite restaurant where we always go to celebrate things. And we thought like, we also need to celebrate these kind of things, because it's very important for us as a family that we don't only celebrate the highs, but also some of the lows. So when he was done with all his surgeries, we said we're going to our favorite restaurant and have a nice dinner. And I knew that was the moment I would surprise them with, hey, you guys are going to New York with me for my birthday as a gift for you guys. And I had completely arranged everything. I had made like plane tickets in Photoshop with their personal details and their booking information, etc. I put that in an envelope in combination with a personal invite where it said, you've been invited to Rajan's birthday week in New York. You are staying at this 5-star hotel at Times Square. You are going to get a birthday dinner. You are going to be cheering him here and there. We're going to have like a Zen day. We are going to have an active day and blah 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 blah. And I all put that in an envelope. So when we went to the restaurant, I had those envelopes with me in my back pocket. And just before the first dish came, I handed over the envelopes to them. And my dad was like, oh no. My heart starts pounding. So he got really nervous. My brother then said, hey, mom, dad, he has been waiting 9 months for you to give this news. So my mom completely panicked and ordered a beer instantly, telling the waitress like, I think my son has done something. But little did I know, the moment my mom tore the envelope and she saw the ticket, she was like, plane ticket? New York? Wait, what? Are we going to New York? And that reaction was so gold. She was completely flabbergasted that we're going to New York, and my dad, he was shocked and he looked at me like this, like, no way. Is this real? Is this real? And I said, yeah, you guys are coming with me to New York. I'm running the marathon on my birthday, and if there are 2 people in the whole world that can use some spare time off, it's you guys. So this is something for me, giving back to you guys for starting my business at your place, opening your doors, helping me along the way. And after all this news and the cough, etc., I thought it would be nice to go on this trip together. Tears in their eyes. My dad, he had put his envelope next to a candle where he was just watching it the whole night, like, oh, I can't believe it, we're going to New York. We have watched so many movies in New York. I've always wanted to go to New York, etc., etc. And as soon as the second dish came in, I divided my attention back to my brother, and I thought like, hey, I did not forget my most loyal supporter along the way, because he went with every marathon I had ran thus far. He was with me alongside, cheering me on, supporting me. So I also handed him an envelope, and he also tore it open, and he started, well, not crying, but tears in his eyes. My dad, tears in his eyes. My mom, tears in her eyes. And there we were sitting with the 4 of us in the middle of a restaurant, all tears in our eyes, just waiting for the 3rd dish to come in. We had an amazing night, and from that moment on, we were all like locked in. My mom was arranging everything for the puppies to be born, for the animals to be taken care of. My dad took the time off. He did less things at the home that needed to be fixed, and my brother and I helped alongside the way. Yeah, it was so much fun because my family is a really entrepreneurial family. So once we have like a goal or something to do, we all come together and help each other to fix it. That dinner is something I will never forget in my life. It was so much fun seeing their responses of tearing up those envelopes, seeing that they are going to New York, and just completely shocked, like, whoa, is it really happening? And I'm always a big advocate of giving something back to the people you love. So when I was 24, I invited all my close friends to a dinner in Amsterdam. Then when I was 25, I hosted like a children's party for my nieces and nephew, where we went to Monkey Town. And for my 26th birthday, I took the people who are the most close to me on a trip to New York. And then for me the planning really began, because I had already planned a lot, but I just needed to make sure that they would also say like, okay, we are coming, we are making sure that these dates are free for us, that we can go with you to New York. And then for me the fun part began, because we had like a few months ahead. And I was planning the whole trip, and they had no idea, because I wasn't telling them anything. I had just one big smile day after day, because they were asking like, what are we going to do? What do I need to wear? What do I need to bring? And I said like, just take these things. So I told them to bring swimwear, bring very nice clothes, bring active clothes. And that was the only thing that they knew they had to pack. And I was just night after night until 2 a.m. booking, searching, making the perfect planning for the trip. So the moment we arrived from Amsterdam, my dad was constantly saying, oh, we're going to New York, we're going to New York, it's really happening. New York! Hey. And I can just not forget that big smile anymore. It was so much fun with the four of us together, boarding a plane again and just going on a trip. So once we had arrived, our first stop was Times Square. Our hotel was located almost at the center of Times Square. So it was a really nice place to stay at, because you were just walking and you were on Times Square and it was all close by. So that was really nice. And we're a family that loves to eat. So the first thing we did when we landed was of course go to a food truck and order some Philly cheesesteaks. However, we did not ask like what the price was. So we ended up paying, I think, $50 to $80 for just 4 sandwiches. So my mom got really mad, and just the whole trip she can just complain about, yeah, you know, the time that we paid like 50-80 euros for some sandwiches, it's insane, I'm not even charging that, and blah 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 blah. So sometimes we had to make sure that she divided her attention back to how nice the trip was. And well, it happens. Next time, mom, let's ask how much a sandwich cost. And because I had already planned everything out, we went from Times Square to the Empire State Building and just walking and strolling down the streets of New York, what was completely insane, to one of the nicest restaurants in the whole of New York. Months prior to this trip, I had made a special reservation at one of the highest restaurants in New York. It is located at the 101st floor, so it's really high, and my parents had no idea. I had tried to make a reservation for a window seat like literally months before that, and I had emailed them because I wanted a specific seat at the window at a specific time, because I had completely visualized it that when we are going up and we are getting into the restaurant, we could see the sun fall over the New York skyline and just be completely breathtaking by the view. And I had that completely in mind, and I managed to get a seat at the window. I checked online like, how late does the sun goes under in New York on this and this date, and then I thought like, okay, now I know when and where we need to sit, so let's make this happen. And the fun thing about this restaurant is that before you can get to the top of the restaurant, you first have to go to another restaurant, more of kind of like a bar. And I took my parents there and they were like, oh, this is such a nice place. And I thought, oh, little do you know, but we are going up. If you like this, wait until you get on top of the building. When we were in the bar, we got directed to a black door, and once we went through the black door, we are in a hallway. And after a while, somebody walks up and they open another door, and my parents and my brother are like, okay, what's going on? I have no idea. Getting put in an elevator, and we are going up, and we're going up, and we're going up, and my dad's like, whoa, we are really high, my ears are popping. And before you know it, the doors open, there's a pling, and it's like, you're at the 101st floor. and we're looking outside and I'm seeing the most beautiful scenery and sunset I've ever seen. There's this huge orange fireball just over New York, and it's such an amazing view, and I couldn't have visualized it even better to watching that sunset over New York. And we are directed to our table near the window, and my parents and my brother, and we are all like, wow, what a view. And we're seeing the whole of New York from there. And the longer we were sitting there, the more dark it would get, and you would see New York just lit up, the sun went under, and we were still enjoying this dinner. And from the restaurant you can go to the roof and you can walk on a glass floor where you can look down and just see the streets of New York. And it was just an amazing view. And from there on we went back to the hotel, and that was our first night at New York. The next morning I had already planned for myself to go to Times Square, get my morning coffee, get my morning walk in. And while the sun wasn't up, I was hoping that the billboards and all the lights of New York would trick my body in believing that it was morning, so I don't have any jet lag at the trip, because, well, I still need to run a marathon. And then I went back to the gym, work out, then start working. I myself don't do breakfast. So when my parents and my brother were eating, I was just working, so I could make sure that I didn't have anything else on my mind the rest of the day. The next stop was the Marathon Expo, because I still needed to pick up my bib and my starting number, and of course shopping some marathon gear. And normally my brother always comes along, so this was also fun to do this with the four of us together. So after shopping some gear and getting my starting bib, it was time for the next stop. Once again somewhere high, but this time I thought like, okay, we need to have a proper lunch, so why not take a lunch at the Michelin restaurant? So once again we went up with the elevator. I think it was around the 60th floor. We had an amazing lunch. We laughed, talked. Once we were done eating, we went to the World Trade Center and then moving to Wall Street, because you can't visit New York and not visit Wall Street. And the closer we got, the harder the noise was. And my parents had no idea that we were going for the helicopter ride. They were talking with each other because they were walking way behind me, and they were talking with each other like, so many helicopters, there must be something going on. And little did I know, they were about to go on the same helicopter ride as the helicopters they were here.
Huh? We're going for a ride.
Nee.
Yeah.
Wat?
Ja,
Nee, dat meen je.
echt wel.
Wauw.
Schijt je al in je broek?
Nee.
Oh.
Maar,
Nervous because he has something with height, and he didn't tell us, but you could notice that he was kind of getting nervous because he was going into the helicopter. But it was an amazing trip. Saw the Statue of Liberty, and then we went all across New York. We even saw our restaurant when we were flying, and it was just so much fun sitting with the four of us together in a helicopter. After the helicopter ride, we went for a typical American dinner, burgers and beers. Well, I only got the burgers because I don't drink, because I still needed to run the marathon. But my mom and dad, they had beers, and I think my brother also had. But it was amazing. I think I had like 4 cheeseburgers stacked up on each other. So it was kind of disgusting, but also very nice at the same time. And for the next day, my morning ritual was the same. Waking up at 5 a.m, going for my morning walk while enjoying a coffee and walking through Times Square. And that's so crazy because I'm just walking alone at Times Square, and you've seen that place so many times in movies and in places, and to be there on your own in the morning, well, it's 5 a.m, so of course, but it was just an amazing experience. So I can start my day off, trick my body to believing that it's morning, and just walk. I didn't work out this day because I had planned with my brother to go running across Central Park, and while I still hate running, I knew I wanted to run in Central Park. And we had some spare clothes with me because my parents would meet us at Central Park, and then we went just walking through Central Park. And then something funny happened. I heard my dad and mom complaining, and I was like, what's going on? Why are you guys complaining? And they were like, yeah, we have sore muscles. And then I realized you guys are not used to walking this much. So they had to take some breaks and sit on a bench and just sip a coffee and then walk again for a lunch in the Upper East Side. before we went back to the hotel. And the next thing I had planned was something I really like about New York. So it's something I really like myself, and that's Christmas. And I've seen so many movies of Christmas in New York, and while it was not Christmas yet, there was already at the Bryant Park winter village. So there was this ice skating park completely surrounded with little Christmas shops and food trucks and all these things, like it was already Christmas. So we went there, we went eating at different food trucks together, and after a while I told them like, hey, let's call it a night and let's move back to the hotel. And they were following me anywhere because I was arranging everything from the metro, where we need to walk, what we are going to do, if we need to take a bus. So they weren't suspicious of me planning a next thing, because we went into the bus and the bus was driving the completely wrong direction, because Bryant Park was very close by our hotel. And that was fun because my parents were like, oh yeah, should be fine. After 20 minutes in the bus, they are like, we're not seeing that much light anymore. Are we going good? So my brother and I were laughing because we already knew we were going to another place. And after, I think it was 25 minutes, my mom and dad were looking at Google Maps and they were like, boys, we're going into the wrong direction. And I was like, oh no, shit, you were right. We need to get out of this bus and get to the next stop to return. And once again, they just followed my lead. And we were walking, and then you saw in great red neon letters, Amsterdam Billiard Club. And my dad is such a big pool fan. We have always had a pool table at our homes where we would play 2 versus 2 together. My dad plays competition pool, he watches pools, he has a lot of friends that play pool, he has some friends that have been world champions in pool. So a big pool fan, let's say that. And apparently the Amsterdam Billiard Club is one of the most prestige pool clubs in the world. So if you are a pool fan, you should go to the Amsterdam Billiard Club. And we had talked a little bit about it, but he didn't want to go it because he thought it was too expensive to rent a table. And he said like, yeah, no, we're not going to pay that. And I was like, no, we are definitely going to the Amsterdam Billiard Club, even if it's only to say that you was there. So he got this crazy big smile when he saw it. And everybody was like happy because, hey, we're going for an activity again. And we went just pooling the whole night, and then we went back to the hotel. And sadly I couldn't sleep at all that night. I was just getting sicker and sicker. At the plane I already noticed, because I'm always sitting in the aisle, and a lot of people were coughing, and it was just kind of also disgusting. And I thought like, oh, I hope I don't get sick. And well, I already knew it the whole trip in New York. Each day I got sicker and I got more snotty and I was more coughing, and then I got hot and cold, and then I knew, oh fuck, I'm getting a fever. But luckily you are then in New York, in America, because you can just walk and buy everything in a store. Literally everything that's not allowed in the Netherlands, you can just buy that in a store. So I got strong painkillers, I got like this really heavy nose spray, I got all these crazy pills, and I just took everything what's most chemical for my body. And I was like, I don't care if it's not the most nature way, but I need to battle this fever and I need to battle this sickness, because I need to run a marathon tomorrow and I cannot be sick. And the day before a marathon I always try to limit how much I'm walking, so I give my body the rest it needed for the next day. And while I was a replica of The Walking Dead, my parents were like, oh, what is this child doing? Why don't he just go to bed? But again, I had already planned our next activity. Just like I said, our family is a big cinema family, so I actually wanted to go to the movies. But then I thought like, if you're in New York, you have to visit Broadway, even if it's just once, to say you have visited Broadway, you have seen something. So I was looking for musicals, and then I found the perfect one for my parents, because I knew they have been watching this when they were children. I've watched it myself, and I just knew that they had to see this. So when we were walking in Times Square, I was walking as a Walking Dead. I suddenly stopped and said like, alright, I know you guys have seen this when you were little kids, and that's why we are going to visit the musical of Back to the Future today. And it was so much fun. The acting was so good and the graphics were insane, and I was like, I didn't knew a musical could be this nice. But maybe it's because it American musicals and not a Dutch musical, because I've seen a lot of Dutch musicals and I always think like, what the fuck am I watching? But this was so good. Afterwards, went for dinner, and of course you have to stack those carbs before you're running a marathon. So I came across this concept in America. I think it's called Italian family restaurants, where you can just order a few dishes and the whole family can eat from that pasta, etc. So I wanted to go over there, stack the carbs, and then go to bed early. But once again, I slept terrible. I was trying to pick myself together like 30 minutes before, just completely steaming myself, coughing until everything was out of my body. It must have sounded like an exorcism when I was trying to get rid of all those slime, and it was terrible and I was not feeling okay. Then took all the pills, the nose spray, the balm, etc. And then I was walking to the ferry to go to Staten Island, where I would be taking a school bus to the starting area, where I needed to run a marathon while I was having a fever on my birthday and was feeling completely terrible. And then they were firing a cannon, and that's the start marking of the marathon.
Let me hear you. Let's get loud here at the start line of the TCS New York City Marathon. Wave number 4. On your mark.
And then you need to run across the first bridge. And then you have 4 more bridges to go, and it was so hard. Just 4 weeks prior to that marathon, I was running almost sub 4 at Chicago, and now...
We gaan ervoor! Klein stukje!
And now I was struggling so hard, and I was maybe thinking to myself, maybe this time I will get it under sub 4, but it was so hard. Those bridges really kill you. But then I also noticed like, hey, it's my birthday. There are more than 1 million people cheering you along the way on your birthday. How insane is that? And as the cherry on the pie, my parents and my brother are supporting me in the crowds, and I will meet them halfway. So I just need to keep on running, Rajan. You will see your parents and your brother halfway.
Kom Rajan! Hey! Hey! Happy birthday! Hey! Gefeliciteerd man! Ja. Die bruggen zijn geen grap. Moet je aan? Huh? Kijk! Yeah.
So I saw them, we hugged a little, and I told them, damn, this is fucking hard. And after 20 seconds I just started running again, because I wanted to get the job done, mission accomplished, and go back home. But the marathon was insane. The crowds at New York were so crazy. They were literally yelling next to you. In Berlin, London, Chicago, they were all lined up properly and they couldn't get close to you. And here in New York they were just so close, yelling and cheering you on. It was insane. So that was really a nice experience to have. And yeah, once I finished, I was just so happy that I had done it. I had run a marathon on my birthday while I was sick. My parents were cheering me on. 1 million people were cheering me on my birthday. So that I will never forget that day anymore. And during the marathon, my parents and brother were getting in contact with some Americans there. And their daughter was also running the marathon. So they were like, you should come and drink some beers with us to celebrate. We are having a little party in this place. So after the marathon, we went straight to the after party with them. And after we had some drinks, it was time for my birthday dinner to happen. And I told them one thing, dress nicely. Because I had booked a window seat near Columbus at one of the most epic restaurants in New York. It's called Per Se, and in Dutch it means like you must. So I thought like, once I have seen the place and I knew what for dishes they had, I knew I must go here. I must per se go to this place. And now you probably think, what makes this restaurant so special? it's a 3-star Michelin restaurant, and I've never been to a 3-star Michelin restaurant, so I thought like, why not do it on my birthday with the people I love the most. The moment we came into the place, the service was great, the food was even better, and we went for the 8-course menu. We had some crazy delicious wines with champagne with it, and just we enjoyed every little dish. It was like a little piece of art that was extremely delicious. After a while we got the dessert and something extraordinary happened, because I got a plate where the complete New York skyline was in chocolate, and my finish time of the marathon was also visible, 4:30 and 2 seconds, which I actually hated because I wanted to run sub 4 and now I was watching this seeing 4:30 and I was like, fuck, this could have been 3:59 if I was not sick, for example. And then they even gave us more desserts, more than I even could eat. Like, it was too much for me. The whole table was fully covered in desserts. Since I gave them such a timeless gift, they wanted to give me something timeless too, but they had no idea what I liked. So they told me, here's some money so you can buy a nice watch for yourself. The moment I saw that, and I thought like, that's so nice. I knew like, okay, I'm going to spend some extra money on it. So I really have a nice watch where every time I will look at the time, we went to New York together, because it was just like a weird time for us also. Because we didn't know if this trip was going to be a memorable trip, because we were together and we were going on this amazing holiday, or if it's an unforgettable trip because it was the last time where the 4 of us was together and my dad maybe not survive cancer. So that was kind of the tricky thing, the whole vacation, of course. Why it was also sometimes emotional, because we had no idea which way it went. But one thing we did know was that we were together and we are creating unforgettable memories together. And before we even knew it, 5 hours had gone by where we were sitting at a restaurant enjoying amazing food, having a good time, and then went back to the hotel. After a hard day of working out, you have to rest. So I had booked at an ancient bathhouse in New York for a complete spa day where we had different baths where we could get in, a steam room, different hot saunas, hot baths, cold baths, and of course a massage to end well. So we were completely zen. Then we went to the ferry to see the Statue of Liberty. We went walking a little bit, and then it was time for my mom to go back home because the puppies were about to be born, so I had to reschedule her flight earlier. She went back to the Netherlands, and my dad, my brother and I went for this crazy big pizza. And then I finally, after all those years, I went for something that was on my bucket list for such a long time, watching an NBA game. I'm a huge basketball fan, and I've watched basketball since I was little. I've played it, I love it, and finally I could go to an NBA game at the Madison Square Garden, watching the New York Knicks play a game. It was such an amazing time, and at our last day in New York, we went to the cinema, we went to Chinatown, we went to Little Italy, and just explored the last things that New York had to offer. And when we got back in the Netherlands, there was a little gift waiting for us. 10 little puppies had just been born. And that's how I spent my 26th birthday. And sadly, I only started my YouTube journey this year, so I didn't bring any camera with me to make content, to document this trip. But it's such a memorable trip for me. And my YouTube channel is mostly like a time capsule for myself to see which phases of my life and business I'm going through, and to teach you lessons and teach you insights that I learned myself during all these times and all these years. But I knew I wanted to record this video because this trip was one of the most memorable trips I have ever made. We were unsure if my dad would survive his cancer or not. At the moment everything looks good, but you never know. But I'm so happy that I made this trip, and I wanted to have this episode on my YouTube channel, and that's why I recorded this today on my 27th birthday, because I just wanted to have one big memory together as a family, just like we did when we were little children. And honestly, I hope I can inspire you to do something the same. It doesn't have to be this big, or maybe you do it even bigger, but just do something small. I'm a big advocate of giving back to the people you love, so Treat someone to a coffee. Call your parents when they are not expected. Visit them. Surprise them. I've lost too many people in my life to know just that life is gone before you know it. Something happens and your whole life is upside down. So give back to the people that are there for you. And sometimes it's not even easy. My parents raised me, and me and my father, we had some serious issues together. We could not fit into the same door. Not at all. But we worked things out. And when I was 17, I moved out of my home. The moment I quitted my job and decided that I would leave Amsterdam, my parents were the first people to say, "Son, you're always welcome. Come here." And that's the place where I could scale and grow my advertising agency, District Social, where I could grow as a person. And that's something I would be forever grateful for. So thanks for watching this video and reliving with me this journey. Today I've turned 27. I've not planned anything for today, only to record this video and to inspire you to do something similar. And again, it does not have to be as big as this, but do something small. Treat your parents to a cup of coffee. Call them. Surprise them. Visit them unexpectedly. Because before you know it, something happens and your whole life will be upside down. So again, thanks for watching. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. And now I'm going to celebrate my birthday. Ciao.